Two new moves that dramatically escalate congressional Democrats' fight over the independence of the nation's highest court. Just minutes ago, we got breaking news that Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has officially filed articles of impeachment against Justices Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas. That comes just after Senators Sheldon Whitehouse and Ron Wyden made a formal request to DOJ. They want a special counsel appointed to criminally investigate Supreme Court Justice Thomas for accepting travel and the loan of a luxury car from wealthy donor friends. NBC's Ryan Noble still with us on Capitol Hill. MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin is here with me. Okay, Ryan, what do we know about these impeachment articles? I know this story just broke. What happens next?
So this comes from, as you rightly point out, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from New York City, and she's filed two articles of impeachment against Justice Samuel Alito and Justice Clarence Thomas. And these articles of impeachment are not based in any of the decisions that either of these two justices have made, but instead specifically about their conduct around the office. For instance, in both Thomas and Alito's case, she is accusing them of not properly disclosing financial benefits and gifts that they were given by donors and others, and in some cases people that had business before the court or even had a vested interest, a political interest in some of the issues before the court. And she's also doing that in the case of Clarence Thomas, saying that he refused to recuse himself from certain cases that his spouse had a vested interest in as well. His wife, Ginny Thomas, of course, was very much involved in the Stop the Steal effort, the efforts to overturn the 2020 election and things along those lines. Also, she is accusing Justice Alito as well of refusing to recuse himself from certain cases of which he may have a conflict of interest. So these are very specific accusations that Ocasio-Cortez is leveling against these two Supreme Court justices. It comes at a time where Democrats are getting increasingly frustrated about the direction of the court, obviously the decisions that this court has rendered over the past couple of months, but also the conduct of these Supreme Court justices and the lack of oversight that they apparently seem to have without any kind of specific code of ethics that they must follow. Now, in terms of whether or not this impeachment will ever become a reality, Chris, that seems very unlikely. Republicans, of course, still control the House of Representatives. There is a very slim to almost no chance that the actual articles of impeachment ever even come up for a vote. Ocasio-Cortez does have the ability to offer what's called a privilege resolution, which would mean it would force a vote, but the Republicans could immediately just vote to table or move to table the resolution, and that would bring it to an end. But even if for some reason they got through the House of Representatives, let's say the election goes in the direction of the Democrats in the fall and she brings these up next year, it would require, just like it would in a presidential situation, a two-thirds conviction in the United States Senate in order to remove either of them from their post as a Supreme Court justice. So it is a long shot in any way, shape, or form. This is very much a public relations effort by Ocasio-Cortez to voice the frustrations that Democrats have about the direction of the court and these two justices in particular, and perhaps have that be something that are in the back of the minds of voters as they head to the polls in November.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.